Good morning, you beautiful bunch of fuckers. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It's Thursday, February 26th. Time for a little technology and efficiency. We'll make it a free-for-all today. You can jump in with whatever you want. Joel and John are here. I thought Henry was ghosting us, but I do see a line there. That might be Henry's. I figured he was probably sleeping. I'm just going to bring everybody in. We can start talking over each other. Good morning, guys. Henry, is that you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is Henry.
Yes.
He's awake.
Yep.
Great to have you here. Hey, Joel.
Good morning, Henry.
Joel, I'm starting today. Did you happen to catch last week's show? I know you weren't here with us, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
He was
heard
here.
some of it.
yeah. So the association.
I was in and out.
By the way, those things are popping up everywhere all of a sudden. I mean, there are people on social media with like 187 followers, and they're starting an association to unite the entire logistics industry. So what caught my attention on the one that I had on last week, and I thought it was awesome that we got the guy on the show. Somebody in the chat room did that. While I was talking, somebody found his number or email and called him, and we got him on it. And I got to say, the guy was a good sport. He really was. I beat him up pretty bad, and he never once got upset, didn't call me names. But what I wanted to point out was, here's another group with a list of 37 demands. And I'd have to go back and listen again, but I don't think he was able to explain one of them. He just kept saying, well, you know, we haven't really thought through that one yet. You know, we haven't sent that one to anyone. Well, the big problem here is
It's almost like
you didn't think through any of this. You didn't even take 10 minutes to think through it.
a jumble of ideas that they hadn't thought through completely, and it looked like to me, or it felt like to me, that it was kind of a rudderless or a leaderless ship, I guess.
That's another problem.
There was
right?
nobody really in charge to set the agenda, and you know, and I think I made this comment while I was on, the short time that I was on. Anytime you throw out that much information, you damn well better be in command of the information you're throwing out there, because you just opened yourself up for people to pick this apart. And that's what they're going to do. You're going to get 27 people picking individual topics apart that they may know very well and take you to task. And you damn well better be able to answer that. And unfortunately, that just wasn't the case with the guy that you had on. He wasn't able to elucidate or you know, really dive deep into any of it, actually.
And here's how bad it was. This is not an exaggeration. I read that post, the original post. I'd never heard of the guy. The organization did not know any of this. It was less than 10 minutes before I opened up that show. That's how fast it was. In fact, one of the ways I was able to just kind of summarize it all pretty quickly was I ran it through AI and said, give me the bullet points. And you know, I do know those topics. I don't need to do a lot of research on those topics. I've been dealing with them my whole life. I know what they are, but that's how easy it was to dispute. I needed all of 10 minutes to tear his entire argument apart.
Right. No, I'm with you. They just weren't fully prepared. There was too much stuff, too many demands. You know, it's very typical of what we see. They get this really long laundry list of things that they want to do, instead of taking little small bites, chewing thoroughly and then swallowing. You know, they want to take these huge mouthfuls and just gulp it down, and you're going to choke. I mean, that's exactly what happened here. He just choked, and you know, one of these groups is going to get it right eventually. Somebody's going to say, okay, here's 2 or 3 things that we want to accomplish first, and then we'll go from there. But until that happens, you know, anybody that puts out a list of 25 demands, just forget it. It's going nowhere.
You know what I got thinking about? Because like I said, that all of a sudden I just saw a bunch of these. Most of them aren't even worth bringing up. I brought up his because his list was just a great topic of stuff to talk about. Not that they had any answers, but it was a good list. I mean, it really was. They just didn't have any answers and they hadn't thought it through. But I saw a bunch more this week and I got thinking, what's with this? And then it dawned on me. Let's go back. Who's the largest advocacy group in the owner-operator world? I mean, this should not be a tough one to answer.
That would be OIDA.
Absolutely. Let's go back. I think it was 1973, if I remember right, that OIDA was formed. They started because of the fuel prices and rationing. Remember, we had rationing going on. Fuel prices went through the roof. That's why OIDA started. But let's think about something. I bash OIDA a lot just because I disagree with their whole outlook on things, the whole victim mentality. But you got to give them credit. They built that in a world with no social media. How did you reach 100,000 people or whatever they got? That was an incredible accomplishment to get that many people together in an organization like that, and they've stood the test of time, whether I agree with them or not. They're still around. They're still influential. That was an accomplishment.
Well, they used the original social media, the CB radio.
No, good point.
Well,
but it had to be difficult.
Struggle
absolutely.
with the whole OIDA thing and really any of these advocacy groups that want to unite businesses. That doesn't make sense to me. And we talked about this.
Right.
Employee drivers,
Correct.
I get it.
Yep.
You know, you want to do that, that's fine. But when you start talking about owner-operators, to me, the reason you became an owner-operator is because you don't want somebody up your ass telling you what to do, and you don't want somebody making decisions for you. You want to be in charge of your own destiny, control of your own future. So the idea of an advocacy group for owner-operators, I have a tough time with. I really do.
So that's
I think there could be a place for it, Joel. Joel, hold on. So ATA is that for, let's say, for the mega carriers.
TCA for truckload carriers, TIA for brokers. I get the idea of a professional association. I think most of them should avoid advocating for much of anything at the government level. So I kind of have mixed feelings about it. Associations can be powerful.
Right.
Advocacy groups that, like, they had 87 demands or whatever it was, 42. I don't know. I think there were actually 100 bullet points, if I remember right. And yet then they threw in, and we're offering benefits if you join us. We'll get you a discount at T-Mobile. I get a discount at T-Mobile for buying a donut at the coffee shop. Come on. So associations that offer true benefits, best practices, education, real discounts that matter, that I get. The advocacy groups, here's a bigger problem I have with them, really. And this one was, the reason I brought this one up again was because it was so blatant in this one. Every single one of their demands was almost asking for regulation on somebody else. All of our problems are somebody else's fault, and we want the government to regulate those problems away. That was the whole point of all of it.
Except for logbooks. They were to go to paper.
Oh my.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to cover something kind of not that big of a deal, and then we're going to get down to the meat of this. I posted, does anybody follow CDL Life?
I do not.
I do. Been around a long time. They actually come up with some really good stuff. They're not like a true magazine. I think they might have gotten started on social media. They put out a lot of news, and I find interesting stories in there all the time. So this morning I started reading something on CDL Life, and it was, here's the headline: Market analysis. how truck drivers can build stable passive income with crypto easily. And crypto easily is a brand name. You can tell by the way it's written there. And then it does say content sponsored by Crypto Easily, but it looks like an article. I think they call these advertorials or something where it's an article, but somebody paid.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's written specifically for truck drivers. Why this passive income approach is suitable for truck drivers. The truck driver demographic typically possesses the following characteristics: relatively stable income, but subject to seasonal or regional fluctuations. Okay. Long working hours, making it difficult to manage complex investments. Well, first off, nobody should be managing complex investments unless you're an investment advisor, because the more complicated they are, the more you're probably going to lose money. Interest in using idle funds to generate additional income. Preference for investment methods that are automated and require low management overhead. So here's what they're offering. You're not investing in crypto. You are investing in a crypto mining contract. So you are financing somebody to build crypto mining equipment. Now, let me say this too. I am almost ignorant of crypto, and that's on purpose. When it first came out, I was very interested in it, did a lot of research and thought, I don't get it. I don't have anything against it, but I don't really get all the hype. Am I really going to be able to use this to buy stuff? And if so, what's the advantage? And I couldn't come up with any. And then when I looked at it as an investment, it wasn't no, but it was hell no. I can't imagine anything riskier. We have no history. We have no idea how it reacts in all the different financial scenarios we might encounter. If you want to invest in it and you understand it's risky, knock yourself out. I'm not going to. I like really stable stuff that I can set and forget and get on with my life. But if you read those things, why this is good for truck drivers, that applies to the entire population. But when you put it in a trucking publication and you make it sound like this is perfect for truck drivers, let me just give you the rates of return, and you tell me what you think about the investment. I'm not going to tell you anything more about it. I'm just going to give you the rate of return. Now, the way they talk about this, it says example contract offering. Doesn't say anything about potential earnings. It says example contract offering. Here's their welcome contract. The duration is 1 day. You pay $15 a day for one contract, and you get a return of 60 cents. That perked my ears up pretty quickly. Really? I mean, it doesn't sound that big of a deal, $15.60. You get up to their advanced contract, which is 30 days. You invest $25,000. The daily return on this contract, according to this article, is $442.50. In case you got the math, if you want to do it, that's over a 600% annual return.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Imagine that. The most successful investor in the world averaged a 20% return every year, Warren Buffett. But here, just sign up for one of our crypto contracts and you'll make 600%.
He must have had some of them 600s in there to get them to average 20%. You know,
here's the thing.
You know, they
is,
say if it seems too good to be true, it normally is, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Joel. Let's think about this for a second. I've been reading these kind of investment offerings forever. The most dangerous are the ones that might bring you a 25% return. Because here's how ignorant our population has become, or how ignorant truck drivers are. That alone should tell you I could stop reading right now. Why would you put those kind of returns in unless you know the people that are reading this are idiots?
Yes, yes, that's what I was going to say. This doesn't reflect well upon the truck driving population that they would target truck drivers with this type of information. That tells you exactly what they think of you, and where your education level's at.
And then I wonder, like I said, I've always thought CDL Life was a pretty good. It's CDLLife.com. I've followed them for years and years, get all kinds of information. It really bothers me that they'd run something like this and make it look like an article.
Right. No, I'm with you. That's yeah. As soon as you were talking about that, I thought, oh boy, they really think highly of us, don't they?
Yeah, come on.
That investment, if they play it right, they'll make 600% on their ads.
That's exactly right.
They're make 600%. All right. Yep.
Now, this almost doesn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. If there were an investment that returns 600%, let's really put it into reality. If there were an investment that actually returned 50%, not 600, 50, 40, 30, and I knew what it was, I would never advertise for somebody else to give me money for it. If I knew crypto mining would do this, I'd be building data centers the size of Google.
Sure.
Why give it away?
Yeah. Sure.
Why tell anybody else about the idea if it's this good?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Do you know what is entirely possible here that people probably, they say, oh, well, what if I give them $25,000 and I don't get 600%, but what if I get 10? Okay, that'd be awesome. But what if you give them $25,000 and they disappear? Because there's nothing to stop that from happening. Yeah. That's how Ponzi schemes work. You suck as many people in as you can, as quickly as you can, and then you leave.
Yep.
All right. There is a lot going on. Did anybody watch the State of the Union?
Yes.
Did you see the part about...
I didn't watch it. I listened to it.
Okay.
I listened to it.
Did you hear or see the part about Delilah's law?
Yes.
That's the one to get rid of the illegal drivers.
Yes. We have the attention of the American people now. Are we smart enough to do the right thing with that? That's the question.
I'm hoping. And again,
I don't think we are.
and
I think there's a 600% chance
that we're going to screw this up. So I think the first thing we should do to endear ourselves to the public is let's all get Harley Davidson shirts and cut the sleeves off and make sure that we're about 200 pounds overweight, and let's flip everybody off and yell "Black Smoke Matters." And
no.
I think the general public will really love us for that.
You forgot the train horn.
I will say this: there are some people that I'm familiar with that are doing a pretty damn good job at this. And they've been doing it long before the mainstream picked it up. One of them, a girl named Danielle, she's young, really young, like early 20s, I think. She has been all over this, and she has done some really good work, and she's posting constantly. I think it's people like that maybe helped bring this to the national level. It got attention. She connected with a national independent journalist and got a following. What you're seeing, though, now, and there were a couple others. She's not the only one, but she's probably the one I've seen that has done the most. Now what you're seeing is, and she grew up in a trucking family. She's not a driver, never owned a truck, but she did grow up in a trucking family, so she gets it. You can tell she gets it the way she writes. What you're seeing now is everybody's piling on. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's an expert, and they're all digging through the FMCSA database, and this is where it'll go off the rails. If we're going to screw it up, this is how it'll get screwed up.
But potentially could. The one thing we have, and this is unfortunate that I have to say this, but the one thing trucking has in its favor is that this is genuinely a safety issue. You know, people are being killed and maimed and hurt out on the roads, and that's not likely to change until we get rid of these bullshit driving schools. We get rid of people that can't, you know, read and understand English. There will continue to be a safety issue, and this is one of these things that I mean, we all like to beat up on the government. You know, oh, the government screws up everything they touch, yada yada yada. But when it comes to safety, this is what the government's for, right here.
Yeah, right.
You know, when people are being killed out on the roadway, this is what they're for. And you know, there's some things starting to happen here.
We absolutely
my
need
hats off to them.
Good regulations about this. This is one of those places, I'll be the first one to say, the government needs to fix this. There needs to be good regulations. And we could talk about all kinds of regulations, training, testing, all kinds of things. I want to come back to something in a second, so somebody remind me. A federal CDL. I want to come back to that in a minute. The government screwed this up. There's nobody else you can point at. You can blame the industry all you want. You can say, well, the carriers hired these drivers. The brokers contract with these drivers. I get that. But I am a believer in you go back to the root cause of a problem first. What allowed a broker to contract with a carrier that's such a mess? Well, what allowed it was the government giving them authority and a state giving somebody a license. Let's put the blame where it belongs. But now there's a whole group that hated brokers forever. And now they're saying, it's the brokers. We got to make sure the brokers stop contracting. No, we need to go back and fix the original problem, which was the government, by the way. The government has to fix this thing.
Right.
This is not going to be a free market solution on this one. This is going to be the government that has to fix it. But let's put the blame where it belongs. I should never be able to contract with that carrier because they shouldn't exist.
Yes, that is the problem. Just had this discussion. So traditionally, when we looked at mid-sized carriers like my brother's fleet, traditionally 100 or 200 or 300 truck fleet, they would have been a contract carrier that would fill gaps with load board freight, right? That's how it always had worked in the past. We bring in these foreigners that work for substandard wages. They cut corners. They cheat. Let's just say what it is. They cheat. They cheat the logbooks, so they can actually drive their cost per mile down to where now we have 200 and 300 truck fleets that live on load board freight.
Which
and
is
plug
insane.
the holes with contract freight.
Yes, which is insane.
That should never, ever, ever happen. You are exactly right. And people, they don't understand when you break it down for them. That is just an indication that we have corruption run amok. When you have 200 and 300 truck fleets living on load board freight, you've got a major problem.
And you know what, Joel, your comment there, Joel, sounds a lot like the comment the big carriers used about all the little small carriers, such as ourselves, around. They use that argument. I'm not saying they're right.
No, I mean, all the big carriers understand that the small guys, that's what they live off. They live off the load board stuff, right?
Exactly.
Because we are supposedly, we can operate more efficiently. We have less overhead. You know, they have economies of scale. We have efficiency. We can do some things at a lower rate because of that efficiency and still make a decent profit, right? That's just the way that the world works here.
Right.
You're never going to get say, like in my brother's case, a Campbell Soup to come to a small carrier and say, hey, we're going to award you a big contract, because you simply can't cover anything. You could cover one load a day, and that's it. So they're not going to contract with you. It's not going to happen.
Now, let's use that to segue into the next topic, because, Joel, everything you said is absolutely correct. That's how the industry works. What I've been saying, and I know you guys have too, this isn't just me, we've been saying for a long time, just because you can live off the load board doesn't mean you should. There's better freight out there. Relationship freight pays much better than load board freight does. Go find a couple of, and you don't have to go shipper direct to get that good relationship freight. Brokers have it, and it's the freight they don't put on the load board. So you can go build a good business with 3 to 5 good brokers. This is my spiel. It's been this way for 30 years. Build the relationship with them. Let them... This eliminates so many problems. It eliminates all the onboarding issues. It eliminates a lot of freight fraud. It really eliminates a lot of the problems we're dealing with when you have that closer relationship and you get better freight, and you can fill in once in a while on the load board if you need to. We've been saying that forever. Guess what else is occurring right now? This is interesting. So again, this comes from FreightWaves. They said they've been talking to a lot of their large brokers. That's where it's starting. The large brokers are saying, we have shippers now who are writing into our contract that we can't put that freight on a load board. There are shippers now that don't want their freight on a load board. They're worried about theft and safety. They don't want it out on a load board. They want the broker to put it on one of their network carriers.
So next thing you're going to hear is, it's not fair. They can't put the freight on the load board.
I know.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about that.
And that does not surprise me a bit that that's the case. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Sure.
Not at all. I mean, you know, the carriers, because again, now we have groups and people screaming that the shippers and the brokers need to be held responsible for the lousy carriers and drivers. That's just wrong. Just stop that. That's a mess. It sounds like an easy fix, but just stop. That's not how this should work. You got to go back to what caused the problem in the first place. Now, the other thing, Craig posted, and I don't know where he got this number, but he says if Delilah's law were to pass and the follow through would be there, he claims we would lose 20% of our drivers.
That's just about what the overcapacity is.
If that's true, I have a hard time getting my head around 20% of our drivers are currently illegal. If that's the number,
that wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Whew, man, that's scary.
You know what? Already on their changes, made it easier to find a parking spot.
I keep hearing this kind of stuff. Now, according to him, if it went through, we lost 20% of our drivers. Spot market rates would double. Do you know what kind of chaos that would be? They
would be where they need to be.
I agree with that.
It would be short term. It would be short term.
There would be short term chaos.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest one I worry about?
Once that correction is made, everybody's better off for it.
If we don't figure out a better system of qualifying carriers and drivers first, not just the fact that they're in the country legally, that seems like a really low bar if that's our only standard. Right now, it's not even a standard. But here's what's going to happen. If we double spot market rates and we don't have some way of, and I'm not saying stop people from getting authority. I just think we need better qualifications for getting authority and getting a CDL. And if you don't, we're going to have the same chaos we saw during COVID. People will flood into this market if rates double.
Yes.
And everybody with trucks will start expanding their fleet rapidly. It'll be chaos. Might be good chaos if you know how to take advantage of it, but it's going to be chaos.
You'll have a
for a while, and then it gets
upside, and then it's going to get horrible again. Yeah, then you're going to have that extended downturn again, where we used to have predictable ups and downs, and the ups were typically longer than the downs. That just flips everything right on its nose when you do that.
And here's what
you're talking about when you have these super hyper markets.
And here's what I want people to be careful of, because sometimes the best operators won't be able to avoid this. You could say, well, that's awesome. The rates go up. I make more money. I run a good business. I don't have to worry about all that stuff. Here's what you might have to worry about. I dealt with many, many owner-operators who needed a truck. Theirs got wrecked, burned up in a fire, whatever, and prices were double. And I said, don't do it. Go rent a truck if you have to. You can't afford to buy the truck. That could happen again. We'll see that again. Used truck prices will go through the roof, and when you need a truck, you won't be able to afford one.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, don't make the mistake when the market turns at will and we're on the upside and equipment becomes expensive of saying, oh, the rates are so good it'll support, it'll support these crazy prices. Well, it will short term. It won't do it long term, and what goes up will come down, and you will be out of business.
There's one thing that goes up easily and quickly in a situation like this, but does not come back down. I'm sure your brother is worried about what would happen to driver wages in a situation like this.
Driver wages, that is a huge challenge in markets like this, because without underpinning regulation, raising the barrier to entry, you're exactly right. It's gonna be off to the races. You're gonna see companies say, oh, we pay our company guys $1 a mile, and they will be able to do that short term. And then the market will come back down to reality and correct, and then it's just a huge shit show.
And how challenging that is for a fleet like your brother's.
Oh, talk of challenges, just getting back into the swing of things and just in revisiting and going through some of the stuff now that I'm back on the payroll as far as the efficiency stuff goes. And, when you don't have somebody overlooking that and kind of giving everybody direction and whatnot, stuff falls apart in a hurry. And so he's got some challenges that, he hadn't had in a long time, efficiency wise. And, there for a while, Ploger was looked at as one of the most efficient fleets in the country. And will we be there again? Of course, we'll get back there. It's just gonna take a little bit to get to where we need to be, but it requires dedication, management, and kind of the same thing with the things that we're facing with the foreign companies coming in and just adding capacity to the market, helter skelter. If that capacity is not managed in some way, shape, or form, I mean, I'm all for free markets, but when you don't manage this capacity, you get these wild swings. And this was almost, Kevin, and I think you might agree with this, why we had the regulation we had to begin with, because of all these crazy swings in the market. People with money would say, I'm not getting into that, because 1 minute you're up here and the next minute you're in a toilet, I'm going to lose my ass. And now we're kind of seeing that same thing when we bring in all these foreign markets and or foreign drivers and foreign owners, and we flood the market with capacity. It's a shit show. It's a Wild West shootout, and it's hard to have a stable supply chain. And honestly, it's a national security issue. When we have rates that will not support a safe supply chain, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And I know we love to hate the government, and some of us think that the government's evil in all cases, but I'm here to tell you, we need some regulation in order to set some boundaries to kind of manage this capacity fluctuation.
We absolutely do. One of the things that I hate to see is the barriers to entry are being talked about. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's too easy. But what everybody defaults to is cost. Well, why can you get your authority for only $300? Well, what do you want to do? Make it $3,000? I don't want to give the government any more of my money. This isn't a matter of, because the crooks will find a way to pay the higher rate, because there's a reason for them to do it. They're going to go cheat and make a ton of money cheating. So a financial barrier won't slow them down at all. They'll go figure out a way to come up with the money. They're crooks. What we need are qualification barriers, not financial barriers. Better training, better qualifications, not just money. Don't just, there are people that are just say, well, just make it more expensive to get authority. No, don't, because that's not going to solve anything.
No.
All right. I'm done ranting. What does everybody else have?
Well, Henry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, we got that. My leased operator got that. I sent you guys a link to it. He got his truck on the road this week.
Yeah.
And it's looking good. Joel, an interesting part is that one really does go to top gear. It is, and it's working well. I let him run it for a little while. The one thing that he is commenting to me is that on cruise, it upshifts very well, but he notices when he tries to pedal it, engine RPMs really go up, and it seems to downshift easier in the auto mode. You know, he can manually do it, but if he goes to auto and foots, the revs tend to go up on it more than what he feels is necessary. So he's going to try to look into the computer settings, see if they can help him with that a little bit.
I get that.
Yeah,
Often that happens, that they try to make it respond the way the driver would want it to.
Okay.
Not should want it to.
Gives him more performance mode. It gives him more of a performance logic than he...
When they're on the pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he liked, and he's quite happy. Like I said, he's on his second day, so but he's nice and light. And that ended up being a 285 overdrive. And that was as low as we could go because we're at a 41.5 overall. We like to be over 40 for startability. Or overall ratio for takeoff.
We lost Joel somewhere. I don't know what happened to him. I just looked up and he was gone.
That's why he didn't respond.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, why he was so quiet. I'm checking to see.
You get out the aluminum foil.
Yeah. Stainless steel helmets. I said I was done ranting, and I lied. I had one more. This one won't take long. You know, we're talking a lot about parking. This is one of those areas that I think the government should mostly stay out of. It's an industry issue. States are going to do some things, no big deal. There's a couple things we could do federally that would improve this, but it's not going to happen. One, I just don't understand why we won't allow travel plazas on interstates the way we do on toll roads. That would solve a lot of this. And the free market could be a big part of that. But here's the kind of stuff that makes me a little crazy. Henry, when was the last time you were in Montana on 90? Probably been a while, right?
It's been a long time.
I was going to say it's probably been a while.
I don't get up that way.
John, how about you?
I ran it when we came down. Yeah, I was down there before November, I think.
Okay. So, and even Henry, I mean, you'll get this. How much of a truck parking problem do we have on Interstate 90 in Montana?
Yeah, it's.
If you can't find a place to park on Interstate 90 in Montana any time of the day or night, you need a different job. I can't think of many places in the country where it's easier to park than out there. But here's what we're doing. 7 rest areas, just 7 in Montana on 90 will soon have real-time truck parking availability through a $1 million grant. They're going to give us some app or some indicator lights that tell you that there's a parking space in the next rest area. We're going to spend $1 million on 7 rest areas for something that is absolutely not necessary. First off, in a rest area, how hard is it to just roll through and see if there's a spot open? You're not getting off an exit. I get
Yeah.
it. Getting off an exit and trying to drive through 3 different truck stops to find a spot can get annoying. I get that. I have the same problem when I travel because I'm also 70 some feet long. Actually, I have a bigger parking problem. When I travel in my coach, I will not take a truck parking spot. I just don't do it. Not in
Okay.
a truck stop. If I can't fit somewhere in the front where they don't allow trucks and they usually don't bother RVs, that's where I park. If not, I go find someplace else. In a rest area, I will take a spot. Those are everybody's. So I have a bigger challenge, parking. And there's no way I want them spending this kind of money. This is just a total waste of money. This is why I get pissed off when we just keep asking the government to solve everything.
Well, it's funny when you bring that up with that parking, and it used to be Virginia, and a lot of people thought they didn't enforce it that much. But at a rest area, you were only allowed to be there 2 hours.
Which is ridiculous. that was
Well, think about that. What is a rest area for? So I ran into this in Florida a bunch. A rest area is just to stop, maybe have a picnic, use the restroom, take a nap. It wasn't meant to be a campground.
I get that, but with a commercial truck, why not let them stay in that spot?
Because it's a rest area.
Not
Well,
overnight parking.
so now we'll go back to this is why I don't like government being the solution.
And I'll take it a step farther on that. Mind you, I do it, but taking the logic of it, now you're a truck stop or travel center, whatever you want to call it, operator. You're competing with something that the government's sponsoring, parking spots.
I agree with you on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. Government should
you
not
see where I'm going with all that,
government should not be competing with private enterprise.
Because it's saying that should be for the longer term parking would be the same as saying the city park. Well, I ought to be able to just take my tent and live
there. People do that at Walmarts and truck stops.
Yeah, I understand, but that's the deal between them and Walmart. But
Right.
you see where I'm going with that.
No, I agree.
I mean, it's a little controversial somewhat on that, but there's only ever been one reason that there's not enough truck parking anywhere that there's not enough truck parking. It's because it doesn't make economic sense to whoever owns the ground that
Exactly right.
So if you're competing with free spots up the road, and where it used to get me in Florida, especially when I went down to West Tampa, if you pulled into the rest area to use the restroom, which is more what the rest area is for, and even you could question whether the government should be sponsoring that, maybe at a welcome center because they promote the whole state.
Yeah.
But because I'm not going to buy a soda from Pilot, Flying J, or whoever when I stop at a rest area, right?
Right.
It's provided with taxpayer dollars. But more than once when I went into said rest area, I couldn't get out. The one time it took me over 2 hours to get out of the place because of where all the trucks were parked in non-parking spots that I couldn't leave.
Yeah. No, I know. Here's another just quick to think about. We're going to spend $1 million for these 7 rest areas, putting in, obviously it's going to require some sort of sensor array, right? That's how these things usually work. And we have one here at the airport that I absolutely love. We have a big parking garage at the airport. When you go down the aisles, you can look down and see green and red lights. I like that. But I pay for that. I pay for parking in there, so I'm good with that. I like that. Now let's think about these 7 rest areas with all these sensors outside in Montana winters. What's the maintenance on this system going to cost us every year?
Well, yeah. And my point being is, should the government be in that?
No, they shouldn't.
Business.
That's my opinion. They shouldn't. All right.
And if I'm wanting to open up a travel center down the street and make really nice paid-for parking spots,
Yeah, and
all
here's
those people don't want to come to me.
So let's think about this. Let's go back to the travel plaza model on turnpikes. So currently what we have is the government says we need some parking on the interstate, whether it's a rest area, we allow people to stay overnight, whatever. We could argue all that. But what we have is a facility that is solely funded by our tax dollars. It is a pure expense to the taxpayers. If we allow the model like we do on turnpikes, toll roads, and the government owns the land between, it's really nice when you can build it in the middle of the two lanes. It's really convenient and it cuts the cost way down. Now it could become a government revenue center. You charge the businesses that want to be on that property. That's a free market solution. We turn an expense into revenue. What could be better?
Because going the other way, and I've used this argument, when there's a shortage of trucks, why not, the government has a lot of trucks and the National Guards and the military and all, why not put them to work, and haul the freight for free because it wasn't all getting hauled.
Oh, Henry, don't go down
that'd be
that
the same
road.
argument, right?
No, it is. You're right. You're right. But it becomes really obvious what the problem is with that. Right. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. But to me, when people are like, when they start saying about the travel center industries against NATSO and all that, is against, the government making parking spots. Well, of course they are.
Of course.
They're trying to make money with theirs. Of course.
Right. So
we would be against the military hauling our freight for free.
Absolutely. So I understand why NATSO's against it, except use the model I just talked about. Now, NATSO their members can build a truck stop in the middle of the interstate on government land. I'm fine with that. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And possibly be able to charge a premium for their stuff because it's more convenient.
Exactly. That is exactly correct. That's the way this should all work. All right. We have not found Joel yet. And we have a question. I'm going to bring it on. It was originally for Joel, but I think the three of us might be able to handle it. Rod, I was waiting for Joel to come back to bring you in, but we can't find him.
No worries. So I've got three things now for you. One, the rest areas in Montana. One way to look at this, what they're doing is they're putting the reader boards up, just like they're doing in every other state, where it's becoming standardized. That says rest area 10 miles, 20 stops, rest area 40 miles, 15 empty. I think it's more of a standardization of the interstate system.
No, I don't think it should exist anywhere.
And
I don't think they should be using my tax dollars for that.
And I agree, but I can also look at the logic. Okay, the money is being allocated. It's going to get spent somewhere.
Wait. That's the worst justification in the world. Stop allocating my money for stupid stuff, and then don't tell me, oh, we already allocated it, so we have to spend it. But no, just stop allocating it.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying, so anyhow, so there's that. The other one, I have a question for you, more health related. I don't know how you feel about this topic, and if it's just something, because something I've been going through for the last year and a half.
Okay.
Is for cancer screening for drivers.
Okay.
Specifically prostate cancer screening.
How do I feel about it?
Trying to get drivers to start.
I can stop you right there.
Yeah. Okay.
I am 100% against all medical screening. All of it. Medical screening is not the same as medical testing. So don't confuse the two. Here's what screening is. Looking for a problem when there's no symptom or reason to look for that problem.
Okay.
There's a really good book. I could sit here for the next hour and talk about this topic and tell you why it's a horrible idea.
I don't want to hijack the show that way.
No, that's okay.
But
I don't care about that. But here's the book. It's called Overdiagnosed by Gilbert Welch. And you'll understand why This is a huge problem. And how much propaganda has been built around this. And boy, you want to talk about getting blasted. If I go on social media, and I do it once in a while, and say, stop with the mammograms, stop, I will get blasted. You're going to kill people. My brother-in-law is alive because of that test. No, he's not, and you can't prove that. We've been brainwashed into early detection, early detection. We've been doing the screenings for several decades. Cancer rates have not gone down. It didn't work. This is a giant.
They'll have a pill for that.
Well,
This is a giant
money
market.
And I'm only speaking to the one specifically, so
Oh,
because
well,
it does directly affect me, because mine was caught purely accidentally.
So read the book. Here's the thing about prostate cancer specifically. It may be one of the worst. Breast cancer is probably the second worst. Here's the thing with prostate cancer.
Huge industry.
We have two basic forms of prostate cancer. And here's a statistic. They did autopsies on men over 70 that died for other reasons. Died in a car crash, died of a heart. Well,
I know where you're going for that.
Okay, where am I going?
That we die with it as opposed
Absolutely. Yes, every male over a certain age will die with prostate cancer. They are so slow growing that most of the time, even cancerous cells in the prostate do not become a problem. You die from something else. Or they are so aggressive that all the testing in the world won't make a difference. You get it, by the time we can detect it, it's a death sentence already. That can occur. So why? But here's the worst part that nobody ever talks about. Do you know how many false negatives and false positives there are in prostate screening? And if they use the PSA number, horribly inaccurate. The next step is a biopsy. Do you know how they have to do prostate biopsies? Because they can't see the prostate.
So yes, I do.
12 needle sticks. They poke around in there 12 times, hoping,
that's the third step. Just for the record, that is the third step.
Hoping they might find, it's not always the third step. In many cases, it's the second. Maybe not in yours, but in many cases, biopsy is second step. Hoping they find something. Well, they could have missed something that was there. Now you got a false negative. They could find something that's there. Now you have a potentially a false positive because it's never going to be a problem. Do you know how much damage the biopsy itself can cause?
Yeah.
I've read about it, yeah.
That's why I'm against this.
Almost
no upside and tons of downsides. Here's another big problem with false positives. When they tell you you have prostate cancer, do you know what that does to your stress level in the rest of your life? And then you find out you really didn't have prostate cancer. False positives are horrendous.
Saw that. Your stress level,
Kevin, on all this stuff, and it goes back to when we had COVID. I wish the figure to see how many people died from, not with.
Exactly.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Same issue.
And because I do have a different, obviously I have a different outlook about it, because it was accidentally caught, found out that I did have an aggressive form of a tumor that had it waited 2 or 3 years, probably would have grown to the point that they couldn't have done anything.
Stop. Waited 2 or 3 years, probably would have. That's how they brainwash you. We have no idea what that tumor would have done. None.
All right. Well, so that's fine. And I was just asking, I wanted your opinion to see, because all I'm trying to do is be for advocacy, but you're getting so that's perfectly great.
Here's what I advocate. Here's what I advocate for. Eat a good, nutritious, whole food diet, eliminate as many toxins and stress as you can out of your life, and roll the dice. The odds of you getting cancer when you live that way go down. And there's so many other benefits to doing all of that. And then your odds of getting cancer go way down. That's what I advocate for.
And I agree, because there was tests out there that show that truck drivers, they are saying, are 4 times as likely to get it. They claim it's due to the vibrations of our bodies going down the road. I personally think it's because truck
the
drivers
lifestyle.
generally are horribly obese.
You are
They
correct.
smoke like a chimney. They eat like shit.
Yep.
So that's why. So that's where we're totally in agreement on that.
Well, then,
So,
and
my
I agree
question,
with you
maybe,
because if they claim that truck drivers have more because of vibration, then they're going to have to figure out how vibration causes diabetes and metabolic syndrome and high blood pressure, because truck drivers have more of all of those things than the general population. And it's not about vibration.
Stress and stressing.
Yeah. Actually, Henry, you might be surprised about this. I've done a lot of research on stress and looked back through my experience and all kinds of things. This is one of the lower stress jobs. Really is. You figure most of your day is yeah, if correct, it can be. Most of your day is sitting behind the wheel going down the interstate with almost nothing going on.
Especially the way I've been doing it, running at night.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, how do you do that? I'm like, it's pretty chill.
It's chill. It's very chill. It's very
3
low
o'clock
stress.
in the morning, I'm just like, I can redesign the whole entire world in aerodynamics.
I've been measuring my stress level. I could look down and tell you what it is right now, because I do this. My stress level at the moment, not too bad, 28 out of 100. That's not too bad. Sometimes when I'm really at it.
What was it last week at this time?
Yeah, it was probably more like 88 out of 100. Right. So my stress levels throughout the workday are usually pretty high. My brain's always working. There's always something I'm trying to solve. I monitor my stress levels when I'm in the office. I monitor my stress levels when I'm on the road traveling in a 70-some foot vehicle and dealing with all the same. My stress levels go to almost nothing when I'm on the road. What is there to worry about? Yeah. There's almost nothing for me to do all day except sit back, listen to a good book.
Yeah, if the weather's good.
Yeah.
Depends if it's it depends if it's a stressful book.
The original reason I called in, why I called last week, and I'm hoping to get Joel. Maybe John might know. I don't know, because it's specifically with the tire setup Joel's going with on. Purple Haze 1, and I really like the idea, and I'm considering doing it to my truck.
Okay.
John, do you know?
Okay.
And I asked Joel, and he says he's doing it for both reasons, but I'm kind of curious, what would be any adverse effects of not running the taller, either a 455 wide single or even a tall 22.5, as opposed to a standard low pro 22.5, which is about 2 inches difference in overall height, an inch clearance difference between that and the 365 with you, how it affects the lift axle and the load, the weight biasing and all that. Having the 365s on the front axle, that tire would be 2 inches taller than the tire on the drive axle.
Right. So you're going to lose some of your clearance when you're in the lift mode then, correct? Because that tire is taller, right? So that would be one thing.
Right.
One thing I was going to, you posted this on social media or something too, right? Okay, good. I've read this. And I was wondering about the ABS. How do we factor that into the ABS system?
That's where it gets the signal to do the other stuff, yes.
I don't know if it, and I can't say it for certain, I don't know if it would have an effect. Only reason I say that is because Alec, when he was still with Landstar and still had his trailer, he put the lift axle on his trailer, and he had the 445s on the front axle on the lift axle, the 455s on the rear axle, and it didn't cause him any ABS issues on the trailer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. No. Hold on, no. That's possible on a trailer because many trailers only have the ABS
one channel
on one channel.
Yeah, because legally you only have to have ABS on a tandem. You legally only have to have one on one axle. On a tridem, you only need one actually up here in Canada. A lot of guys go to two. but you actually only need one, unless you get a full, what they call it, a full channel package where you monitor each.
Four channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
I had 4 channel, and just testing with lifting an axle, it made it do all sorts of screwy things.
So, and that is a good thought. All right? That's one way to think about it. Because my question for Joel was, is it specifically for trying to get the overall ratio down to a 205 effective, or does it have to do with the...
Hi, I'm Kevin Rutherford. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, or leave a comment below. It really helps us get the show out to more people. If you'd like to get the full show, ad-free, you can sign up with the link below.